We may have a problem. Oh, f***. Oh, God, I can't even speak, bruv. I'm actually gutted. Hello there.
Oh, God. Why did I do this to myself?
All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the YouTube. And today in this video, we are getting the one, the only Boris running again. This car has two major issues. The head gasket has gone, which is indicated by some water in the oil, and it also has a fueling problem, whether that's injectors or fuel filter or fuel pump. We don't know yet, but we're gonna figure it all out in this video and get the car running by the end. So let's get into it. So for those of you who watch my Instagram stories, my YouTube and my TikTok, basically Boris died back in November. So obviously we tried to diagnose this problem and we came to the conclusion that it was something internal. But just to double check, we put a bit of brake cleaner in the intake and lo and behold, the car started. And that is obviously indicative of a fueling problem. Come on, baby. See? It's started. So we know the problem is somewhat fueling, but it doesn't explain the milky oil color. So there must be two problems at play here. A, the head gasket, and B, the fueling. So that is what we're planning to do today, fixing those two problems. So let's quickly go and have a look at all of the parts we've ordered to go and solve these issues. So to start off with, we have the QG18DE injectors. These have been ultrasonically cleaned and refurbished. These are the same ones that are in Boris at the minute, but these are in far better condition. We also have a new fuel filter, and we have NGK spark plugs. These are way better than the Bosch ones in there at the minute. It's just a nice upgrade. And finally, well, actually penultimately, we have a new head gasket kit. This is a reinforced, stronger head gasket kit, and it should cope with the pressures of a boosted engine far better. And finally, we have the oil filter, just because we're gonna do another little service on there, we may as well. So that's everything. Let's fix Boris. The first job that we're going to do is the head gasket. Now, I don't think this is the reason why Boris isn't starting. I think this is just contributing to the cutting out of high RPMs and the oil color, but we need to do it anyways because it's just a ticking time bomb. So let's get into it.
So, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, a head gasket change is a pretty big job, especially for someone who has zero mechanical experience. So I just started off simple by taking out the coil packs and unplugging them from the wiring loom. I then did the next easiest thing I could think of, and that was taking off the cam cover. Now, after undoing the bolts, I just went around with this mallet and this screwdriver, prying it open, and then I managed to take it off. Before going any further, I lifted Boris up on the ramp to drain the coolant. Now, because the next step involves removing an engine mount, I had to lower Boris down and get this jack underneath the engine in order to support it. Then I had to remove the intake pipe in order to get access to all of the bolts for the engine mount. I could now finally start undoing the engine mount bolts. Now, the main reason why we even had to do this is because the engine mount is actually blocking us from taking off the timing chain cover. After removing the engine mount, I could then get my socket on the bolts and the nuts that held on the timing chain cover, and then I could pry it open with my screwdrivers. I decided that the next job I wanted to do was to tackle the throttle body, but to do this I had to remove the boost piping first. So here I was undoing the Jubilee clips and removing the boost piping. So now that the boost piping was out of the way, I could then take my ratchet and my socket to then undo all of the bolts that were surrounding the throttle body, and then I could remove the throttle body itself. So moving on to the injectors, I had to firstly unplug them from the wiring loom, and then I could take my ratchet and my socket and undo the bolts, and after that I could disconnect the fuel lines, and then finally I could remove the injector rail.
Right, ladies and gents, I'm really sorry for interrupting, but I've just done a bit of mind reading, and yeah, I can tell you definitely want some Lowe's UK. Lucky for you, because I'm such a nice guy, I have left the link to Lowe's UK in the description of this video. You could maybe pick yourself up a Lowe's UK hoodie or an awesome sticker for your car, just like the one Boris is wearing at the minute. It really does help out the channel if you do want to buy something, but don't feel pressured. If you do just want to like, share, subscribe, that is more than enough. And with that said, back to the video.
So the next thing I did was remove this piece of metal. Now, I don't actually know what this is called, but I know I had to remove it, and the reason why is because then I could remove the exhaust manifold. So the next thing I did was I used this paint marker to mark the timing chain and the cogs. This would help me time everything up correctly when putting the engine back together. The next thing I did was I unbolted and removed the timing chain tensioner. After that, I then got my socket and my ratchet and I undid all of the little bolts that keep in the camshafts. I then used my breaker bar and my big spanner to undo the bolts that were on the end of the camshaft. After doing all of that, I could then take the inlet camshaft and the exhaust camshaft and remove them from the head of the engine. After removing both of the camshafts, I then took my 16mm socket and my ratchet to remove all of the old Bosch spark plugs from the engine.
Right, so there's definitely a bolt here that we need to do. Joe, we may have a problem. Oh, what? I actually don't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm crying. Right, okay, guys. We have come across a ginormous, massive issue. This is a project-killing problem. A problem which is going to require a whole new engine. Well, that's my thinking. We've taken off the cams. Looks amazing. This whole head area looks great. We've got the timing chain. Oil looks clean. Everything looks bloody perfect. But here is where the problems arise. So I had a cheeky look inside the intake, right? And I was absolutely shocked at what I saw. So I'm just going to quickly put my finger in there and I'm going to show you what it is that is the massive problem. I'm not sure if you can see that, but if you look at my finger there, that is loads of metal shavings in the intake, which is very, very worrying. We also have the throttle body over here, which is absolutely littered with these metal shavings. Absolutely littered with these metal shavings. Like, look at that. It is horrific. I should explain this more, actually, because there was a big debate in my comments whether the oil was milky or whether it was metallic. And a lot of people said it looked like there was water in the oil, and a lot of people said it looked like there was metallic in the oil. And that's why I came to the conclusion that it was internal. But obviously, me being an optimist, I was like, nah, it's head gasket and it's fueling. I think the issue is new engine. Yeah, this thing needs a new engine. Oh God, I can't even speak, bruv. I'm actually gutted.
9.46!
It's just, I love it, man, so much.
I am only playing with you guys. You know that Boris is not dying, not over my dead body. And also, Micra engines are very, very easy to remove and put back in. So literally in a couple weeks, we'll have a new engine in there and it will all be running perfectly. Don't you worry. But the last thing we did was we took out the head. Now, the reason why we did this was because we thought we got this far and we may as well. And we were kind of intrigued to see the state of the pistons. So as you can see, that is what we were doing here.
So as you just saw, we've taken off the head of the engine. We've actually done a bit more than that off camera. We've removed the intercooler as well as the turbo. The internals of the engine actually don't look too bad, but it doesn't avoid the fact that we need to get a new engine. I don't want to risk it. There's been metal filings that have been going around there. It's not worth the risk. But what is the diagnosis? Basically, the turbo has died. I chose to buy a really cheap Chinese turbo. It was literally 100 quid. So that's why it's probably died so soon. But I've learnt my lesson. We're definitely going to spend the money on a better turbo when we redo this. Moving on to that, what are we doing? we are probably going to put either the 1.4 or the 1 litre Micra engine in there. Obviously, at the minute we have the 1 litre in there. Whether we upgrade to a 1.4 or whether we stay with the 1 litre, I'm not quite sure yet. Long story short, I'll put the pros and cons of each on the screen now. So there are some pros and cons to both of those two things. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but that's the plan. We need to get a new engine in here, definitely, and this is going to be ready for show season. I am making it my mission, but we're gonna have to continue with this in another video. This video has already taken us way too long. If you did enjoy this video, guys, make sure to smash that like button and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.